everyone! Welcome to Much Ado About Gaming. I hope you're having a wonderful week. My name is Jessa Blackthorne. I am your host, and I am so excited for today's episode. Today, we are doing a Holiday 2021 WizKids Board Game gift guide. Now, I know, for example, I missed one of the holidays. I missed Hanukkah. I'm sorry. I know Hanukkah ended the other day, and I apologize. I was going to do this last week, and then something came up, so I wasn't able to do this episode that week. So I'm doing it today, and I hope that, for those of you who were celebrating Hanukkah, I hope you had a fabulous Hanukkah. And even if you're not getting those board games as gifts for Hanukkah, you can just get them as little holiday gifts for yourself. So we've got some great games today. So what I'm specifically doing is I'm taking some choices out of WizKids 2021 board game releases, and those are what I'm picking from. So you'll see a lot of the games that I've covered this whole year. In this episode, you're not going to see any of the older games because, again, this episode is about the 2021 board games that would make great holiday gifts. I have copies here of most of the games I am going to cover today, not all of them. Some of them I lent to some friends to check out to see if they like it. I have a very intense board game group, and so I said they could check out the games. But I'm going to get them back and make them get their own copies because that's how good these games are. They're falling in love with them, and I'm so excited. I'm so happy. So you'll see most of the games I'm covering today, but maybe not all of them. Before we get started with that, though, just a couple of reminders. This show is a show about board games. I talk about WizKids Board Game products. Unfortunately, that means that I really can't answer any questions about our other product lines on the show. So if you have any questions about HeroClix, Dice Masters, Attack Wing, RPG products, the best way to get that information is on WizKids social media. So our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, there is where you can ask questions and get some answers for them. If you have questions about WizKids board game products or any of the things I'm covering on today's show, what you can do is type right in the chat. It says type question in all caps and then your question. I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so if I do see a question and I'm able to answer it, I absolutely will. But I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. I don't think so. We do have an exciting announcement at the end of the show, which I'm very thrilled for. But without any further ado, let's get into this WizKids Holiday 2021 board game gift guide. So the game I'm going to start with is one that I find is really great for people who like a little bit of silliness in their games. It's, they like an experience where they can have fun and they can strategize, but they also kind of like a fun, kind of silly feel, but it's a good example of a racing game, and that is Grease Lightning. So Grease Lightning, of course, is a 2 to 4 player racing game with an ancient Greek theme. You're racing around on triremes on a circular board, and what's cool about the circular board is it's made up of wedges, and so the wedges actually change and shift as you're going through the race, and that can affect your strategy. It can affect the strategies of other players. So what's cool about this game is you really have to think on your feet, and your strategy is going to evolve as the game progresses, and I really like that about this game. This game was designed by Kathleen Mercury, who is a fabulous designer. I talked to her on the show a while ago, so check that episode out if you haven't. Her interview was super fascinating because she's a teacher, and she brought her students into a lot of the design process, and I thought that was very, very interesting, and I think you will too. The game came out very recently. It plays in about 45 minutes, and it is $34.99. So Grease Lightning is a really good recommendation for someone who likes games that are like, again, it doesn't, I guess I didn't really convey the kind of silly tone of the game, because it's not completely silly. It's not like, it doesn't go full absurdity or anything, but it has a kind of lightheartedness about it that I really like. And so, even when the strategy is evolving, even when, your opponent does something that messes up your plan, it's not tense. It's not bad tense. It's fun tense. It's silly tense. It's, oh man. So I really like that about it. And the name is a great theater pun. I really love that. Grease Lightning. I mean, can't get much better than that. Ministry of Dice. I am doing great. Thank you. I hope you're doing great as well. Thank you so much for tuning in today. So that is Grease Lightning, so that is my first pick. These are in no particular order, I'll also say that. They're in the order that they're stacked in front of me on my desk, and in the order that I, have them. Because like I said, I don't have copies of every single one I'm going to cover, but I have copies of most of them, just on hand. Normally I have them all, of course. Ministry of Dice. I see what you did there. Of course, I normally have copies of all of them, but I'm a big fan of sharing games I really enjoy with my friends so that they can get the experience instead of buying blind. And I mean, my friends all tune into my show, so they do hear me talk about these games, but sometimes a game will catch their attention and they'll be like, hey, can I try that before I buy it? And, I always say yes. I always think it's a nice thing to do for the people you care about, especially, who you want to play board games with all the time. So the next thing we're going to talk about is an expansion for one of WizKids' most popular games. It is a card game, and it is a great game for people who are maybe new to tabletop gaming, or maybe like a more laid-back kind of card game experience, something that doesn't have a lot of components, but still something that's really thinky and really has a good amount of strategy to it, and that is Fantasy Realms: The Cursed Horde. So, The Cursed Horde is, of course, the expansion for our game Fantasy Realms. You do need a copy of Fantasy Realms to play Fantasy Realms: The Cursed Horde. And Fantasy Realms, so let me just explain Fantasy Realms a little bit. What Fantasy Realms is Fantasy Realms is a card game where you're trying to build the best hand out of however many cards you have. I forget the exact number. I think it's 7. I haven't played Fantasy Realms in a little while, which I should play it more. I really like it. It's actually, I've talked about this, it's the game that introduced me to WizKids in the first place, so it holds a special place in my heart. But you're trying to build the most powerful possible hand, and the cards actually affect one another in your hand, so that, is something that you're keeping in mind as you're playing, because, cards can have positive effects with one another, but they can also have negative effects. And your goal is to try and build the highest scoring hand. And it's a really simple game. It plays in about 30 minutes, and it's so much fun. It's great because you can kind of keep it in like a bag, and if you go to a cafe, or, you're hanging out with family who maybe aren't as big into board games, or you're hanging out with friends who are kind of new to this is a perfect game to kind of introduce them to more card game mechanics that are, really unique and different. And you're trying to build the most powerful kingdom is really what the theme is. But the Cursed Horde is an expansion we released this year, and it adds 2 new modular expansions. You can play them together in the base game, or you can add them separately. The first expansion is called Cursed Items, and Cursed Items adds a new deck of cards, and players can kind of take one card, and they can use that whenever they want during the game to create powerful effects. So you could take a second turn, you can hide cards you've discarded, which is a big thing because part of the gameplay of Fantasy Realms is you can either draw from the deck or you can draw from the discard pile. And the gameplay is draw a card and discard a card, so that discard pile can get very contentious very quickly. So hiding discarded cards is actually a pretty powerful ability. You could even, though, skip your discard phase to keep an extra card. So that's kind of what the Cursed Items can do. They have some pretty powerful abilities, but whenever you use them, it turns into negative points at the end of the game. So it's really about weighing the risk and reward of, I'm using this cursed item, but is it going to be worth it to me to lose those points at the end of the game? The other modular expansion that the Cursed Horde includes is 3 new suits. So it incorporates 3 new additional suits to the game's base set, and that is buildings, which allow you kind of to develop your realms. There are powerful mythical outsiders, and then there are also undead. And that just adds a lot more strategy, a lot more flavor to your gameplay. So it's a really fantastic expansion. If you already have Fantasy Realms, it really is the perfect addition to make the game, give the game a new flavor, while still retaining the same excitement that you already had from the game. So the expansion, the Cursed Horde, is $14.99. It's available now, of course. Fantasy Realms itself, of course, plays 3 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, and like I said, it plays in 20 to 30 minutes, so it's a great playtime. So if you do not have this, but you have Fantasy Realms, definitely pick up the Cursed Horde. If you do not have Fantasy Realms yet, you should pick up both Fantasy Realms, the base game, and Fantasy Realms, the Cursed Horde, because they are both fantastic, and you will love them both. I will also add here that there are 2 different versions of the box for Fantasy Realms. One has some older art and one has some newer art. So if you see 2 different versions of the Fantasy Realms cover art, rest assured it's the same game. There's no mechanical changes. It's just we updated the cover art after a while. Ministry of Dice. No, we did in fact announce a Star Trek version, a Star Trek Fantasy Realms game. And that is called Star Trek Missions. We'll be talking more about that in the next couple of weeks, and you'll get to see an unboxing of it, I'm hoping, very soon. But we did announce that. It's going to be great. It's a lot of fun. It adds some new flavor to Fantasy Realms. But for now, if you're just looking for a holiday gift, Star Trek Missions won't be here in time for the holidays this year, but Fantasy Realms The Cursed Horde is here now. So get that. Next up, we have... This is another one I really, really enjoy. And this is Zombie Princess and the Enchanted Maze. So, Zombie Princess and the Enchanted Maze is you're exploring I have like so many things to say about this game, all positive, that I tried to say all at the same time. It is a great game where you are exploring a maze, trying to find the key to escape, while also avoiding the zombie princess who is coming to eat you, or one of the other knights who are also trapped in the maze with you. So the game plays 2 to 5 players, and all of the players are knights who have come to rescue the zombie princess, not realizing that she is in fact a zombie. And when they go to rescue her, they realize she has escaped and she is stalking the maze, trying to turn them into zombies. The flavor in this game is spectacular. The art is amazing. I mean, just look at that. It really is a stellar game. I'll show you the back of the box as well. So what you're doing is you're exploring the maze with moving across tiles. The tiles can move and turn to change the path. And players also gain control on their turns of the zombie princess, and they have to move her through the maze as well, trying to send her after the other players so that she does not eat them. If a player does get eaten by the zombie princess, they turn into a zombie, and they're now helping her, trying to turn the other players into zombies. As a player, what you're trying to do is get to the other side of the maze from where you start and collect your key, and then get to the tower in the middle to escape the maze. So it is such a fun little game. The designer, who is of course Andrew Beardsley, is just so fabulous, and his story is really interesting because this is the first game he's ever designed, and he and the artist Luke Webb, Andrew won a contest actually to pitch the game to Zev, who is of course our head of board games here at WizKids, and we loved the game. We published the game. It is out now, and it is such a fun little game. I really love it. It's 2 to 5 players, ages 10 and up. This one has definitely got more of a silly, fun vibe as well. This one probably leans more into the silly, I would say, but there's still a lot of gameplay, and I think that's a great family game. You know, if you have family members who really like more classic style board games, this is a good step up from that into more, you know, more board game hobbyist level stuff. But it's not as intimidating because the tone of it is so family friendly, and I really like that about this game. So I said it plays 2 to 5. It's $39.99 MSRP, which is a great price. You're getting a ton of components, and like I said, the art is absolutely gorgeous as well, and the art on just everything is fantastic. So that is Zombie Princess and the Enchanted Maze. Definitely one you're going to want to check out with your family. Definitely a great gift for someone who wants, you know, who you think would be really interested in exploring more hobbyist type board games, but maybe not, but really loves kind of classic type board games as well. So someone who wants to kind of expand their repertoire of board games beyond the, you know, the classics. I really, really love this one for that reason. Next, I apologize I don't have pictures on the screen of these today. I'm dealing with some technical problems all morning long, and so I didn't get time to do it that way, which is why we're doing it this way. I'm actually going to save this one for last, so... Now, of course, one of the things that we do on this show here is we have a bit of a meme, and that is, of course, our penguin mascot. And if you've been with the show for a while, you know exactly where that penguin mascot comes from, but I haven't talked about it in a while, so we're going to talk about it now, because it's one of my favorite games of the last year. And part of me was really scared that I was going to look and it was going to be a 2020 game, and time has just stopped happening and, like, you know, kind of gone out the window. But no, it is 2021. It's early 2021. This came out in February, and the game is called Waddle. This game is so cute. It is so adorable. It is a game about sightseeing penguins traveling around a town, causing mischief, and it is so cute. And it's so much fun. So it's not just got, you know, the adorableness of these penguins. Look at these penguins. It's not just got their cuteness going for the game. It's actually also really mechanically interesting. So the way the game works is you are trying to match patterns on cards with the patterns of penguins on the table. So there are going to be a number of central locations that the penguins can go to, and you have, each player has sets of colored penguins that they're trying to make match the patterns on their cards. So, you on your turn, you can move the penguins, you play cards, and then you're saying, I'm trying to match this, and then you score points for matching those patterns to the penguins on the table. And I haven't opened any of these other games, but I just need to... You all know my obsession with this game, if you've been with this show for any length of time. Look at these. Look how cute these are. So they're in an art gallery. These penguins are in a restaurant, just causing chaos. Look at them. They're in an aquarium. So if you know someone for the holidays who really likes really cute stuff and kind of like has that aesthetic in their life, you know, they love cute animals, they love bright colors, they have that interest. Or you know someone who really likes pattern matching games, both of those people are going to love Waddle. It is an adorable game. The mechanics are pretty straightforward and easy to learn. I found myself picking it up almost immediately once I started learning it. And because of that, I think it's a really good game for the again, someone who maybe is, you know, newer to hobby games, or someone who really enjoys hobby games but wants something that's not insanely complex to learn. There is, of course, a time and a place for those types of games, and people, you know, enjoy them. I enjoy them, but sometimes you just want something that's super chill, and Waddle has definitely got that, and also the adorable penguins. So, Waddle plays 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, and it is $29.99, and the, I'll say the penguins are actually wooden, which is pretty cool. So the penguin little tokens that you put on the little circles that I showed you, they're made of wood, so the components are really nice, they're really high quality, and I really like them. So that is Waddle. Next up is one I don't have a copy of on hand because I lent it out, and that is Jinja. Now, Jinja is a colorful worker placement game about building shrines across ancient Japan. So you're placing workers at key locations, and then you can activate different actions or build at different territories. You're kind of rebuilding these shrines, and you're using your workers to accomplish that. So this one is great for people who love classic game mechanics like worker placement, but this one does it in a really interesting way that I find to be much more, I shouldn't say more, I find it to be compelling and easy to follow, I guess is a good way to put it. It's approachable. That's the word I'm looking for. It's an approachable worker placement game. And the art is also really stunning. So what I'm going to do right now, really quick, is I just want to show you kind of what this game looks like. So I am going to... I'm just going to show you all what Jinja looks like over here. Hang on. I'm gonna just, yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna super quick. So this is Jinja, of course. This is the Jinja page on our website. This was the fastest way to get the pictures. It's really stunning. So you have different events that will happen, and the game takes place over a number of seasons, but this art is just absolutely breathtaking, and it's a really interesting take on a worker placement game. The way you're building out these different territories, and you're drawing from a bag to kind of pull the workers and everything, and the randomization makes it really interesting, of course. So these are some of the events that can happen in the game. And you also have secret goals that you're trying to, and these are the ways you can build the different shrines. So these over here are the like different types of buildings you need to be able to complete the shrines. The recipe is the word I use when I'm teaching this. The recipe for the shrines, and you have to have those to be able to build the shrine. And then when you build the shrines, you get bonuses in the game. And these are mechanics. These are some of the workers. And then these are the shrine pieces themselves. So these are plastic, and they are really pretty. So that is Jinja. It is a fabulous game, 2 to 5 players, ages 12 and up. I will also say there's also one little randomness mechanic that's incorporated. I know some people are iffy about random mechanics with die, and there's a die in. I tried to say dice and die at the same time. There's a die that comes with the game that you roll for one of the bonuses that you can choose to use if you want. You don't have to use it, but it allows you to possibly get bonuses, which is also really cool. But I mean, the table presence on this game is gorgeous. It's $49.99. It comes with a ton of components, including I would say it's probably over 250 components, if I'm doing the math correctly, and it is just gorgeous. This one is definitely one for someone who really likes those kind of, old classic board game mechanics, worker placement, but, this one has a different flavor than a lot of others, and I really like it. GM Workshop, Jinja. This one is on shelves. This one released in April, so it's definitely available. It might... I know internationally it can be a little bit difficult, and I believe you're international if I'm correct. So it might be a little bit more challenging in the UK. The global shipping and logistics crisis, which I talk about every week, can make it a little bit more challenging for things to arrive. But this one has been out for a while, so you should be able to find it fairly easily. With the newer stuff, it's a little bit more difficult to say for sure. But we're working through this together as a community, as the hobby community, as the board game community, and we'll get there, and I'm confident that you'd be able to find a copy of Jinja, because it's fantastic. You should absolutely get a copy of it. So next up is another one that I don't have on hand. So we're going to do the same thing where we look at the page, and that is D&D Dungeon Scrawlers. So this one we are in love with. We think it's absolutely fabulous, and so far we've gotten such a great reception to this. So in this game, it's a D&D game, and it's reminiscent of, if you remember when you were a kid, like going to restaurants, you would get the little table setting with the maze on it, and it's kind of like taking that and elevating it for hobby gamers and elevating it for D&D fans. And it's really, really cool what we've done with this. So in the game, you and your opponents are racing through these mazes. The mazes are representing different dungeons in Undermountain, which is of course a locale in Dungeons & Dragons. And you're trying to you have to complete different tasks as you make your way through the maze. So, you're fighting monsters, you're collecting treasure, you're casting spells. as you're making your way through the maze, and eventually you get to a boss monster and have to defeat it. And this is all done with a dry erase. The mazes are all dry erase sheets, and you're using dry erase marker on it. And you're racing through the maze, and the winner is the player who scores the most points. So even if you defeat the boss monster first, you're not necessarily going to win the round. So the game is super fun. Each player has a different character class, and the character classes have different abilities that can make it easier for them to complete certain types of actions. So, for example, you can normally, for casting spells, you trace these really intricate patterns, but the wizard character only has to draw a small circle. So that, makes it, if you choose the wizard, that makes it easier for you to do that. Rogues only need to touch treasure as opposed to entirely covering them with marker. Barbarians can defeat monsters by only filling in their heads instead of their whole bodies. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about completing these mazes, and the different character classes make the challenge really exciting. And as you're completing those things, collecting treasure, defeating monsters, those are scoring you points. So you really want to make sure that the character class is the one that is going to, what you think is going to get you the most points. There's different routes through the mazes, so everyone's going to be playing it a little bit differently, which is also really fun. And the game has 10 different dungeons. So, there's a lot of replayability there. The game plays up to 4 players, 2 to 4 players, and it only plays in 15 minutes, so it's pretty quick. So I'm going to show you again, just like we did with Jinja. This is the page. I'm actually going to move this over a little bit because the page is kind of wide. So this is the page for Dungeon Scrawlers, as you can see. It's available now. And just the art on it is so fun too. It's very cute. It really has that feel of a family fun D&D game. It's absolutely fabulous. It's such a great game for families, especially if you have a family member who doesn't necessarily want to play D&D but is interested in D&D and is interested in fantasy. This one is a great one for them. It's easy to learn, so it's great for younger family members as well. We also have a free print and play of the game that you can download and check out yourself to see if it's the right game for you. This is what one of the mazes looks like. Ministry of Dice. When you were a kid, I thought those crayon/dinner mat things were for everyone. I'm great at staying in the lines. I was never good at staying in the lines. I'm not. I have some dexterity stuff going on, so for me, I was terrible at it. And my friends and my parents used to make fun of me. Not my parents, but my friends would make fun of me. But yeah, so this is kind of what the mazes look like. The mazes, of course, in the actual game are a lot bigger and more expansive, but this kind of gives you a good sense of what it's going to look like. So I highly recommend this one, D&D Dungeon Scrawlers. It is $24.99, great for just about anybody on your list. If you have someone who likes playing those kind of games, like maze games, it's perfect for them, absolutely. There's also connect the dots things going on in it, and just a lot of different things. And what's really cool about this, too, is the components are really high quality. So the dry erase mats that we use for the dungeons they erase beautifully. The markers are really nice. We've used the markers in another game that I have not mentioned yet that I'm going to mention in a minute. So I really recommend it. It's fabulous. D&D Dungeon Scrawlers, 2 to 4 players, plays in 15 minutes, available now, ages 10 and up, and it is $24.99. So definitely pick that one up for anyone on your list who likes kind of, like I say, if you have someone on your list who likes coloring books, anything like that, puzzles, stuff like that, they will love this. It's a great game. Next up, we have the last one of the ones that I do not have on hand. I actually do have this one on hand. I just could not find it right now. I think it's up on the top of my shelf in the back right now, because we just reorganized our whole board game shelves this weekend, and so it was a little bit challenging to find it. And that is one of our biggest, most anticipated games of the year. If you followed this show for the last couple months, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition. So Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition is the return of the iconic game of exploration, expansion, and development, and it has tons of new updates. This is an icon in the tabletop game industry. If you have, if you're into civilization games, Clash of Cultures, and this edition is a upgraded version of Clash of Cultures that is complete. It has the expansions, the Aztecs, and civilizations. It has fully sculpted wonders for the first time. The components are gorgeous. This one is one that we are so thrilled about because it looks fantastic and we're so happy with it. This is the game for the really serious hobby gamer on your list. Someone who really likes those intense long games where, every decision matters and you're sitting there for a while playing. It is the perfect game for someone who really gets into their tabletop games. This one, it's a classic, it's iconic. They already almost definitely know about Clash of Cultures, and it could not be a better gift for someone who loves tabletop games. Another interesting thing about Clash of Cultures that I want to mention is it has really interesting tech tree mechanics. So I personally had not played Clash of Cultures until we got our sample copies at work, and we played it on Twitter a couple weeks ago, and I had not played it before then, and I really loved the different decisions you could make, and the expansive different options that you had to grow your civilization in the way that you wanted, and I liked having that freedom. So once again, last time, we're gonna show you the product page for this, just so you can see what it looks like on our website. So this is the Clash of Cultures page. You can see the art. Of course, the rulebook, as with all our games, is available on our website, and some links to buy it. It is available now, and this is what the game actually looks like. It is huge. It is fantastic. So you can see some of this is actually from the preview, so I'm going to actually remove this over here and show you these. So these are what some of the minis look like, as well as in the middle you can see the Pyramid Wonder. The Great Pyramid, I believe, is the exact name for it. But this is kind of what the board looks like in gameplay. Alright, Lacutsis says, any info where to find retail official stores for contacts that have WizKids merch in Mexico, the shipping and handling. Lacutsis, I don't have a specific answer for you, unfortunately. I don't think there's any list of retail for, international, but what I can do is I'll look into it and I will post on Twitter if I can find anything for you. So you can follow me on Twitter at these links. And that should be able to help you find, I'll try to find what I can, about retail in Mexico. I know that shipping overseas is such a pain. I was talking about this earlier, especially with the global shipping and logistics crisis, and I apologize for that. But I'm hoping that, we'll be able to find an answer for you. So Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition is for ages 14 and up. It's actually, I think, a good game as well for, I found it easy enough to learn that I think that someone who's newer to these bigger games, maybe somebody who's younger, a teenager who wants to try these civilization games, they're into civilization themed video games, things like that. This is also a great option for them. The rules are very intuitive, I find, and so it's a good game for that, as well as for somebody who really loves these kind of intense tabletop games. Lacutsis, let me look into this, and I will, you don't use Twitter. Okay. Okay, so contact press@wizkids.com and just, the email address is press@wizkids.com. Send an email there, and I will look into it, and I will see what I can find. I hope I can help. I know this is all a pain right now. But Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition is $149.99, so it is, a heftier price tag, but it is absolutely worth it. There are so many components, and they are all gorgeous, individual sculpted things, painted. It is amazing, and definitely a great game on your list for someone who's really into those kind of board games. Last up, but definitely not least because, oh wait, I forgot one. How could I forget Bequest? Oh my goodness, I love Bequest. Bequest just came out. So we're going to talk about it, and then we'll get to our last but not least. Bequest is the last one of the ones I did not have on hand today. So Bequest is a game that kind of has a newer approach to I cut, you choose mechanics. So in Bequest, the evil Dr. Schism has died, and he has left his assets to his underlings to fight over. So you take on these different evil supervillain characters. The Buffler is my favorite. Auctioneer, Buccaneer. They're all different characters. They all have different abilities. But the way the game works is there are a bunch of different types of cards, and you get 5 cards in your hand, and then you cut them. So you choose, 3 and 2 or 1 and 4. And what you do is you split them between 2 piles, and then you give them to the neighbor next to you, and the neighbor next to you chooses one of those piles, and you get the other one. What you're trying to do is you're trying to collect sets of different types of things. There are drafting mechanics as well, so it really combines a lot of those different fun, popular board game mechanics into a different kind of flavor. So there's different ways of scoring the different types of cards. So some cards are scored by set collection. Some cards you don't want to get, and so you lose points if you have them. There's also a drafting mechanic where there are cards that are called keys, which don't add to your score, but they allow you to draft from the special assets in the middle of the table at the end of the round, and only a limited number of players get those keys each round. So it really creates a kind of extra bit of strategy when you're cutting your cards, because if you get the key card, you're hoping that you can make it challenging for your opponent to want to choose the key card by giving them other bad cards so that you can get the key and then draft from the special assets, which are extra powerful cards and can really up your points. So this is another one that uses, again, really classic popular game mechanics in a new kind of way. I really love Bequest. I think it's so much fun, and I really love the art on it. So let's take a look at the product page. So this is what the product page looks like. As you can see, of course, the rule book, the description. This is what the cover art looks like. I think it is beautiful. I really love the use of color here. I think the artist did a great job. And there's this portrait in the middle is actually featured quite a bit in the game. But here is just, let's look at some pictures. Here are some of the components. So these are the splitting boards. So these will be between each pair of players. And it goes all the way around the table. So each round you're going to actually switch who you're cutting with. So one round you might, cut and choose with the player to your left. One round it might be with the player to your right. So it changes every round. And then this is some examples of what it kind of looks like in gameplay. You choose simultaneously which pile you're taking. So you're always going to get... You always end up at the end of the round with cards from 2 sides of you. So the cards that you cut with the neighbor on one side, and then the cards that your neighbor on the other side cut that you are choosing from. So you always end up with that. You simultaneously choose which pile you want, and then you all flip over and reveal your choices at the same time. So that adds additional strategy. This is a scoring card that shows you kind of an explanation of how the different things score. You can see it talks about set collection over here. There's also really interesting ones where, like, if you have the most, you get a lot of points, but if you have the second most, you get less, or if you have the most of something, you get less points, but if you have the second most, you get more. It's really interesting. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of weighing risk and reward in this game that I find really compelling. So these are the different rounds. Each round has a different stack of cards in it to tell you which cards to choose. So that way it's all balanced internally, so you don't have to worry about the cards being unbalanced because the deck was maybe shuffled wrong or whatever, which is really nice. That's kind of a nice shot of the setup. It has a great table presence. It looks great, and it's so much fun. So that is Bequest. I really enjoy it. It is $49.99. This one is one of our newer releases, and it did come out at the end of November, but of course with the global shipping and logistics crisis, it's possible it has not arrived in your store yet. I hope it's arrived in your store because it is great, and if it hasn't, you can definitely still pick it up. Check out shop.wizkids.com to order it online. Order it, get it. It's a great game for someone who, again, like they like a kind of bit of take that in their games. They like to kind of be devious, and that's really what this game does really, really, really well, and I really like that about it. So that is Bequest, and then of course now we have my favorite one. Again, these games were in no particular order, but we cannot talk about a WizKids board game gift guide without talking about Super Skill Pinball. And this is, of course, Super Skill Pinball Ramp It Up. This is a standalone sequel to the hit 2020 game Super Skill Pinball 4K. So in this game, it is a pinball-themed game. You're playing pinball on the table. It is a lot of fun. This game really, really effectively recreates pinball in a tabletop format. It has dry erase boards, and you're kind of moving down the table. I'm going to show you real quick. And then I have a big announcement about this game that you are all going to love. So it has these boards that have the table, and they have the back glass. And so you kind of place them like this on the table. And then you roll your die, and you roll 2 dice, and you choose one of the results. And the dice roll is shared among all players, so each player gets to choose from one of the 2 results that were rolled for the table. You choose one of the 2 results, and then make your way down the pinball table and hope that the flippers shoot you back up. So there is a bit of luck to it, but there is more strategy than luck, really, when you're thinking about it, because of the way this game is designed. There's ways to get bonuses, and what's really cool about Ramp It Up is that it includes mini-games for almost all the tables on the back glass, and it has ramps in the game, which were a highly requested feature that was not included in the first game. It really increases the excitement, I would say, of the first game, and just shoots it up just like a flipper into the stratosphere. One other cool thing about this is one of the tables, which is called Pin Pals, actually has a co-op mechanic where you team up with another player and you are scoring bonuses for each other instead of yourself. So that's something really cool that's also incorporated into this. There are 4 tables in Ramp It Up. Go for Gold, which introduces the extra flipper and provides a great starting point for new players. Pin Pals, like I said, which is the co-op table. High Roller Heist, which allows you to kind of play like a casino caper, and it packs it into 2 rounds, which is making it one of the fastest tables in the game. So you choose your crew, you choose your target, and you execute your plan. It's really fun, and the plans are represented by 3 different unique minigames on the back glass. And then, of course, Top Speed turns your pinball into a race car, and you can add to your dice rolls 1, 2, or 3, but you have to be careful because if you're going too fast, the flippers won't be able to catch you and you will lose your ball. So it's a lot of fun. It really does recreate the feel of playing pinball. Actually, two weeks ago, I interviewed the designer, Jeff Engelstein, on the show here, so you can check that out on the WizKids YouTube channel to see the interview. He talked about kind of the way he wanted to evolve the game and make this, really different and interesting. And our big announcement is that today, in about, I would say, 1 hour, WizKids is releasing a free Christmas table for Super Skill Pinball. It is so fun. It is so cute. I'll be posting it on our social media within the hour of finishing the show. Jeff and I are going to do not a live playthrough. It's going to be a pre-recorded playthrough because you all know my woes with my camera. But we're going to be posting a playthrough of the table this week. Hopefully it might be next week. We're still timing that out. But we'll be posting a playthrough of that, and you can download it and play along at home. It'll be a free print and play. Check out WizKids social media for the link. In about an hour, we will post it, and I am so excited. It's such a fun table. It's Christmas themed, so it's great for the holiday season. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that is Super Skill Pinball. Of course, if you want to buy Super Skill Pinball, ramp it up for the person on your list who loves arcade games, loves classic nostalgia, loves pinball. It's a great choice for them. It plays in 30 minutes. It's ages 12 and up for 1 to 4 players and is $24.99. But if you want to, for free, you can check out the free print and play Christmas table that we are posting today. We also have free print and plays for both Super Skill Pinball 4Cade, which is the original, and Super Skill Pinball Ramp It Up, which is this one, on WizKids.com. So you can download those as well if you, like me, fall in love with Super Skill Pinball. It's a great game. It's a great choice. But with that, we are going to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great holiday. I will hopefully see you next week, barring any more technical issues. Fingers crossed. For those of you who celebrated Hanukkah, I hope you had a happy Hanukkah. For those of you celebrating upcoming holidays, I hope you're having wonderful holiday seasons. I love you. WizKids loves you. Have a great week, I should say, follow WizKids on social media if you haven't already for updates on everything and to see the Super Skill Pinball Christmas free holiday table. WizKids Games on Twitter and Instagram. WizKids on Facebook. If you want to follow me on social media, I am at @the_Blackthorne. Blackthorne spelled BLACKTHORNE on Instagram and Twitter, and Jessa Blackthorne on Facebook. Now I can say, I hope you have a wonderful week. I love you. WizKids loves you. Bye, everyone.